All right. We have been working on healing this entire month. And so originally, this service, this is our 5th Sunday, so we were going to talk about healing stories, IQ healing stories. So I put out the announcement, the APB for anyone who wanted to come and share their healing stories with us. And I got 0 response. 0. And I said, well, God, now I wonder why. And then I was reminded of a passage in Teacher and Healer by White Eagle, Jesus, Teacher and Healer. And it says that you all have been healed 1,000,000 times and you have forgotten. I said, oh yeah, they've forgotten. And that really does make sense, because when you are healed, what you're doing is you're taking that causal thought and either you're shifting it or you're eradicating it. And if you're eradicating it, it's gone. If you shift it, you no longer function in that way, and you're doing something slightly differently. So, say I knew that. Okay. So it reminded me of, we've been doing this for 25 years, it reminded me of a session early in our career. Patrick had a client who came in one day, and she had back pain. Very, very, very challenging back pain, and had had it for quite a while. And so he did a Reiki on her, and they scheduled a session for the following week. So when she arrived the following week, he said, well, hey, how is your back? And she said to him, what do you mean? How is my back? And he said, well, remember you came for extreme back pain? And she went, oh, no, I don't. She had completely forgotten the issue that brought her there in the first place. Say, yeah, I've been there. Yes, you have. Okay. So we talked a couple of weeks ago about Jesus' healings, and I want to share with you, I'm reminding you of what we read in the Aquarian, chapter 74. When Jesus was approached by a doctor who asked him, why do you heal in such diverse ways? Okay? And he said, disease is discord in the human form, and discord is produced in many ways. The body is the harpsichord. Sometimes the strings are too relaxed, and sometimes they are too tight. In harmony results with both. So disease is many-formed, and there are many ways to fine-tune, to tune anew the harpsichord. So I wanted to share with you just some of the IQ healing stories, and what you will hear today is really not about you, unless I have specifically asked you. Because I would not divulge your secrets, so everybody take a breath. Okay, that's a relief, okay. But, we've got some stories. So I wanted to start with one about that beautiful harpsichord. Again, this is one of our early years, and we had a friend who was also a client who had, again, a back issue. He was in perpetual pain. He had been to the chiropractors, been to the doctors, and nothing could touch it. His entire back was just locked up. So he made a special appointment with Patrick, and so Patrick did the Reiki on him. It's Reiki is when you put your hands on the person. It's done through just healing touch. The energy just moves into your body. You're not doing anything else but gently touching. The energy moves. And then he turned him over and Reiki'd his back, just letting the energy move. Well, by the time the session had ended, the man could not move. And he said, okay, it's time to get up off the table. And his muscles would not engage. And so he was like lifeless on the table. And he's over 6 feet tall, and he is not a small man. And so Patrick got his hips and moved him so his feet were on the floor, but his torso was laid across the table, carrying the weight of his body, and he could not move. And so Patrick's praying really fast. What do we do now? And he took a sheet and he folded it about this wide, long ways, scooped it under the man's belly, pulled it around him and tied it in the back to try to give him some core. Then he happened to have a stick that he shoved through the tie and began to turn. And as he turned the stick, the man inched up just like you'd see a little doll do. And I would have Patrick do it for you, but you have the picture in your mind.
Yes.
So he's twisting this guy until the man is standing. So now he has a stick in his spine holding him up, and he's got this tightly wrapped sheet around him. They had to go down the stairs. We were in Roswell at the time, many stairs. And then he had to prop him in his car. Fortunately, his arms were working at this point and his legs were working. His back was not. And so he propped him in his car, called his wife, said, he's on the way, you're going to need to help him get out of his car. And so he's driving with his stick, going into to the rider's passenger seat, holding him up. By the time he got there, his wife was able to get him into the bed. He slept all night, woke up. Absolutely perfect, had no more problems, had nothing for 2 years. Absolutely perfect. No one knew what was wrong with him, but the harpsichord was too dang tight. And it resulted by releasing a whole lot, you see? Sometimes our healings are that way. As intense as they might be, the release might be that intense. But we're on the way to the healing process. It's a fun story?
Yeah.
Okay. And I will share this with you. This is not the last time he had to use that technique. But now he knows what to do. If a body gives up too fast, too much, he knows what to do to prop them and get them going. So when we work in healing, all of us want that instant healing, don't we? We want to see that instant manifestation where something is completely healed right there. And again, in Patrick's early time, he had a geriatric ministry. He had a lot of elderly people that he would go and see and work on. And this was very early in the Reiki years. He worked on a lady named Rose who was in her late 80s. And she would make him lunch. That was their energy exchange. He would Reiki her and she would feed him. So that was good for him. And so he went one time and her feet had swollen, her legs and her feet had swollen. You know where it swells tight? Instead of soft? And it was purple. It was purple up into her calf area. And I remember, you know, because we were very active at the time. And I remember him sharing this with me. He said, boy, I thought to myself, we're going to see what Reiki can do right here, right now. Because it was not good. So he started Reikiing her, started here at the upper part. He Reikied and he started noticing the purple was beginning to go down her leg. He worked maybe 45 minutes, not overly long. By the time he was finished, the purple was at the toes. And the rest of the leg, the swelling had receded and the energy had been moving out. She was so happy she could move her foot again. You know, when it swells that tight, you cannot move. And she was happy, and they both prayed, and they both knew that the rest was going to just move on out. And it was her great, beautiful receptivity. And that was that instant, when you can see it in that moment. I had another client that came, again, I'd met her when I was in school. She lives outside the United States, so she was flying into Atlanta, and she made it a point to stay in Atlanta for 3 to 4 days to stay with InnerQuest to work on healing. She said, book me everything you got. So she started with day one. She was here, like I said, 3 to 4 days. I did a full Rohan series on her, spiritual massage, Reiki, crystal color. I don't even know who did what at this point, but that's what she wanted. She came in the 3rd day. She walked in the door and she looked really good. I said, gosh, you look great. You look beautiful. There's something good about you. She had this glow and this smile on her face. And she turned profile to me. And I said, yeah, you just look awesome. And she said, do you not see, Cindy? I said, see what? Her scoliosis, the hump on the back of her shoulders was gone. Completely gone. And it had been there the entire time that I knew her in school. When I'm working on her, that was just a part of her. You know, you just see things, that's just a part of people. I didn't even notice it was gone. And she was just alive. It wasn't what we'd been working on. We'd been working on emotional issues. But she stood there straight as could be, radiant. And that's how she was when she left. Instant healings. Instant healings occur when your vibration, your consciousness is ready to receive it at that level. When I'm really done having this experience, I don't even need to have it at another level. I can just let it go right now. I can let it go right now because I'm going to go off and work on something else. You see? But even as Jesus did, sometimes healings occur when there is more work that needs to be done. So, there was a fellow who heard about me, and he called. He was in Florida, and he was coming up for on his way somewhere, and he wanted to schedule an appointment, so he did. And I went in on my day off to work on him, and very nice man. I'm young. I'm very young. He got on my table, and he lifted up his pant leg. He had open sores that were oozing matter that he had had for years that nobody knew what it was. The doctors couldn't heal it. He'd been through everyone and nobody knew what it was. My heart just broke in that moment for him, like, oh my goodness. And then my heart had to come back together. This is not you, girl. This is the Father within that doeth the works. But don't you know I wanted those sores to heal in that moment? I wanted instant healing. I prayed and I worked with His Spirit and we saw the causal thought and I'm doing everything I know to do to help him. He could feel the energy, but the sores didn't change. And it was like, well, I felt the energy, you felt the energy. We know a healing occurred. So I gave him some affirmations to change the way he thought about his life. And he got in his car and drove on to wherever he was going. I got a letter from him a year later. And he said something along the lines, I know how much love you were putting into me. I know how deeply you believed. And I heard your affirmations, and I took them with me. And I have used them ever since. And it took about a month before they started to alter the sores. They are completely gone. And I am going to be starting a healing center, and I have funding for it. And I thank you for being there and being that point of faith and healing for me. His life changed. He had to take the ideas of a new reality into his body for the healing to shift and for his life to get in the direction it needed to get in. Do you see? What if we'd had the instant healing, which I wanted, right there on the table? There's no doubt. If we'd had that, he would have missed it, wouldn't he? He would have missed the true healing that occurs when the mindset of the causal thought shifts so he can be what he needed to be. So, sometimes we're asked to do something in the outer world. Remember the man who Jesus healed his eyes and he spit on the clay, put it on the man's eyes, and then the man had to go wash wash himself in the river and say Jehovah 7 times. Do you remember that? We talked about that several times. Okay. This is because the man had to do something to participate because of his belief system. Are you all hearing things in these stories that are triggering something within you? Do you like the stories? Yes. All right. Not too long ago, I had one of our people come to me, and she said, oh, just very lightly, oh, Cindy, feel right here, feel that. Okay. It was about the size of a walnut, and it was pointed, jaggedy inside, and I knew what it was when I felt it. I don't know anything about cancer, but I could feel the vibration. It was a solid, and it was right in this part of her chest. And she's standing there, and I went, oh. I didn't say anything. I went, oh. She said, I have no insurance. It's up to you. And I said, immediately, oh, no, it's not. It's up to you and God. I will be the hands, I will work with you, but it's up to you and God, and I will make a deal with you. I will give you everything we've got for 2 weeks. You have to do everything I ask you to do for 2 weeks, and if it has not substantially reduced in size in 2 weeks, you must go to the doctor. You must go to the hospital, because I'm not messing around with this. And she said, I will do everything you ask. I said, okay. So we scheduled 3 sessions a week for her, and she would come in, and if I couldn't do her, I had somebody waiting for her. We did everything, Reiki, crystal, color sound. A lot of you worked on her. Do you all remember that? A lot of you worked on her. In 2 weeks, it was less than half. It had gone down probably to about 1/4 of its size. And so we kept doing it. We kept 3 times a week, and you can't cancel. Because if I'm going to put all of our people on the line for you, you're not canceling. She had to get her thoughts committed. I'm committed to participating with this. And it took maybe a month before it was gone, maybe a month and a half, and there was absolutely, you could feel absolutely nothing in her body. Now, you can say whatever you want about what might have happened. What we do know is there was something there, and now there is not something there. What we do know is her mindset came from, you're responsible to know, I got to show up. And she gave a love offering every time. And I said, love offering, I don't care what you give. You got to give something to own this. Didn't matter to me what she gave. Love offering every time. Most of the healers did it for no cut of the love offering at all. Everybody was on board for her healing, to support her. We have to invest. And sometimes it does need and require us to show up. Good story? Yes. Okay. And she still hangs around every now and then. Okay. Sometimes we just need words to heal. Sometimes we just need someone to talk to us, to say something to us. You know? We do, these are healing stories of inner quest. These are healing stories of what we do as a church. Someone asked me one time, are you a healing center or are you a church? I said, how can you not be both? That's what Jesus did. Jesus taught, he healed, he counseled. Jesus did all of it. How can we speak it and not live it or not try to live it? So the stories are about us, our families, and what we can do in our own hearts. So I teach in our healing class body scanning. At some point I teach it eventually. And body scanning is a technique to look at a body, and you would call it a medical intuitive. We just call it body scanning because you don't need to be a medical intuitive, you just need to look around. I received this letter that I wanted to share with you, in just a paragraph. On 2 occasions, you were able to give me the precise information I needed. Several years ago, I was stricken with sudden kidney failure. Upon my release from the hospital, I had a reading with you. Through your guides, you saw that my kidneys were healthy. The issue was a pH imbalance. After multiple doctors' visits, tests, etc., it was indeed determined my system was too acidic, and you had given me the answer. A few months ago, my doctors told me that blood tests indicated I was diabetic. It was the weekend of our fall psychic fair. I consulted you, and you assured me I was not diabetic. You told me to add certain enzymes to my diet to help the liver metabolize nutrients better. 3 months later, I was tested again and found not to have diabetes. Thank you for your guidance. Do I have any idea what I'm talking about? I do not. I don't know diabetes from enzymes. I don't know. All I know is to look and say what I see, what I am given, what I am told by her angels, guides, and teachers, by God, by Jesus Christ. We have the ability as beings to receive healings in so many ways. That information is available to us when we're ready. But she had to do something, didn't she? She had to alkalize her body. She had to take a step toward neutralizing these things. And the medical profession hit it eventually, but you have so many tests you have to run, right? You just got to test, eliminate, eliminate, eliminate. So in all healing, we work with that community. We work with everybody, but we're working with the energy of God's love being transcendent. Take a breath. Some of the deepest healings that I've ever seen. Those are pretty good stories I've shared already, right? Yes. Aren't they pretty phenomenal? Yes. We got more. Some of the deepest healings I've seen are healings of consciousness. And this occurs with tenacity. To change a faulty thought is a heck of a lot easier than to change your entire consciousness. Do you understand? I have had the privilege of walking with several people for a long period of time. And I have their permission to share a little wee bit. I met a young man many years ago at this point who had lived his early life with his dad, just seen his dad in a very structured environment where he knew he was always safe. And his father died when he was 12, and he was immediately taken into the mother's environment in another state with different people, different family, different identity. And he is a young man, and he became very angry because this was not his people. These were not his people. There was no structure. It was totally different than what he was used to. And he was different. When I met him, he was angry. He had learned how to survive by being angry and taking care of business. Being angry and taking care of business. And so I met this young man, and he came in, and he didn't trust anybody. So he sat in front of me. I don't even know if he knew why he was there. Told me that he didn't trust me in so many words, and it was like, yeah, okay. And angry, okay, that's okay. But he knew it wasn't working. He absolutely knew it wasn't working and absolutely did not have a clue what to do to change it. And it started a long road of recovery. He had to go deep within himself. His homework, I don't want to do that homework. Okay, I did the homework, back and forth. And eventually started doing the homework. He was willing to do what needed to be done to go find that little boy that got left behind at 12 years old, even to the point of flying to New York and going to the apartment complex he lived in and sitting on the roof and remembering and bringing in the energy of the boy who had hope, of the boy who was being provided for and taken care of in the way that he needed. And rediscovering the pieces that got left behind. And then he started working on him, and he started working on his dreams, and he started pushing through. And he started to trust, and meditation became a part of his world. And Jesus Christ became Brother Jesus. And he started to understand. And over time, I have watched this young man grow in consciousness from defensive to embracing what's next. From, I might get angry at you too, you're just silly, you know? His information, as he takes information in, it is more, it's a different person. It's a different receiver that pulls information in now. Because now he has found who he is in God's heart, and what he can be. Do you hear what I'm saying? It didn't happen overnight. And does he still get mad sometimes?
Yeah.
For the same reasons? No. No. Because the energy of how I approach life is different. How I take life in is different. That is tenacity. And that is every day, every day, every day. I had another young woman who I had the opportunity to visit. And she was born and put up for adoption and stayed in a home for a month before someone finally adopted her, stayed in a facility. So she had no bonding. So immediately she has no tribe. She came into the world without a tribe and without a family. So she was lost. She was adopted by a family and raised in an area where she was allergic to everything. Everything. This is not her tribe, her family. Everybody else is fine. She can't breathe. Everything. All she knew when she sat in front of me is, I'm lost. I don't know who I am, and I don't have my family. Through tenacity, through looking at it every day, and I'm just talking them going home. This isn't what they do with me, that's an hour. I'm talking them going home and praying and looking and trying and hoping and shifting those old beliefs into something different. Now she found home in her heart. And she knows she's never lost. Now, does she still struggle with tribe identity? Yes. But as she brings the information into her, it's not I'm an alien anymore. I'm not an alien in a land where everybody has 6 heads. It's, I know my tribe's here, I'm going to find them. Because she's home in her heart. She found herself. Do y'all hear? I had another young lady that came. Fortunately, her neighbor brought her to us. And I just want to honor their work. I want to honor their work. She had just lost a child. and had been raised not metaphysical at all. And of course, we're getting her at the most sorrowful point in her life. And first overcoming grief, and then trying to figure out who you are. Who am I in all of this? And that beautiful energy of loving that spirit of that baby, knowing that baby is still as near as hands and feet, knowing that it's alive, knowing that her heart is still open, knowing she still has a life. And she went from living in a world that never fulfilled her into knowing that she had to fulfill herself. And time, effort, energy, and to this day, it didn't take her long before she started living the principles she was hearing, living them and breathing them in, much to the chagrin of every mom on the baseball field and every mom on the lacrosse field. If they ask a question, they got a metaphysical answer. And she held to the idea, I am God's child. And she will now counsel you and do readings for you. Because she found that piece of her that was missing. And the gift of where her life was. Do you hear what I'm saying? This should be our stories. This should be our stories. Every one of us should be shifting consciousness. We should not be who we were last year. We shouldn't. We should be new. We should be somebody new next year and next year. You know, when someone says, well, Cindy 5 years ago, oh, that was a different Cindy. That was a different Cindy. Don't even talk about her. Talk about me today and talk about who I will be tomorrow. This is healing. When we can lift from a lower level of consciousness to a higher level of consciousness. And each one of those three that did it with the counseling, that really said, I'm all in, they had to say that before the shift began. I am all in. I'm not just all in when I show up and look at you. I'm all in when I go to bed, when I wake up, when I'm looking at my kids, when I'm doing my work, I'm all in. I'm going to try this until I can see what I can birth in me. So home was found, trust was found, potential, beautiful essence of life was found. That's our truest healing. Do you see? All of the people who had the physical healings, they go back into their own environment. They may create it again, they may not. They need to remember the love of God. How many of us forget? God's love came through me and healed me. Let me remember that. Let me remember not the disease, but the fact that I can walk in that complete engulfing of God's love. I can change and be greater and higher. All right. Spirit said this morning, you don't have to be perfect to be healed. You just have to want to do things differently. We wait till we're absolutely broken down and say, give me a healing. Or we stand forth and say, oh, I'm not good enough yet to be healed. I'm not perfect yet. Do you realize you have that thought sometimes? So you don't have to be perfect to be healed. You have to want to do it differently. I just want to do it differently. I may still have that very same issue, but I'm not going to do it blind. I'm going to do it with my eyes open. At Inner Quest, we facilitate transformations. And I'm going to tell you right now, we have a ton of healers in this room. And anyone who opens their heart and says, use me, God, as a channel of healing love, and holds their hands out, you're going to get healing love. You're going to get transformational healing love. Receive. Receive. And if you're a healer, give. And if you're a healer, receive. We forget that sometimes. So all of the ways that Jesus Christ healed, all of the many things that we went over this past month, we are still doing today. We do them in a way that each client is receptive to. Healing is all about you. It's not about your healer. It's about you. How does that feel? Fabulous? Well, let's go within. Take a breath. Father, Mother God, I ask that you bathe this room with peace. And I would invite each one of you just to feel yourself in a beautiful energy of love. Feel the presence of Jesus Christ standing by your side. Just notice your heart. Is there anything you want to do differently? Is there anything that you want to do differently? If the answer is yes, take a breath. Father, Mother God, we ask that your love now pour through each one, filling the energy that they wish to change. Moving gently through causal thoughts, allowing a shift or a complete erasing of that causal energy. And as you feel a golden light coming over you, let it permeate the cells. For all that you choose in this moment, you may receive. God's love pouring through you. And now, just say in your heart, God, I choose life. Life abundant. Feel the gentle spirit around you. Feel the energy that supports you. I choose life. And let that beautiful transforming love of God surge one more time consciously through your body. I choose life and I am healed. And we thank you, God. Just breathe, bring your energy back into the physical. Feel the chair that supports you. And feel the gentleness of your heart. You are perfect in your heart, exactly as you are. Take a breath, send your love into the room, and just gently open your eyes. How do you guys feel? All right. Little steps, big steps, doesn't matter. No steps, doesn't matter. Are you happy? That's what matters. Say, yeah, God.
Yeah.